After my training in Rome had finished, I returned back to the UK, was ordained a priest, and I worked as a Roman Catholic priest in a parish. And that was a very privileged time too. I was working with good people. And it was a privileged occasion, for people to let you into their lives when their babies were born, to baptize them, to marry people, to hear their confessions, to say mass, to anoint the sick, to get a phone call in the middle of the night and be asked to go and anoint your mother who's dying. Very privileged occasion to be a priest. And so when I look back at my time in the church, I've deep gratitude to Allah Almighty. And people say to me, Brother Idris, what a change in your life. You were going in this direction and then all of a sudden you change. I see no change. I look back on my life and I see a straight line. And I see, when I was sitting in those lecture halls in Rome, learning about St. Thomas Aquinas and the Bible and church history, I can see now that I wasn't training to be a priest. I was training to be talking to you today as a Muslim. That I know now that it was Allah Almighty's plan from the beginning of time that I would be Muslim and I'd be sitting here today talking to you about Islam. So how did it happen? Why did I leave the priesthood? Not because I had any problem with the church. None at all. I was happy being a Catholic, and I had no plan to leave my religion. But Allah Almighty, this is very important, God Almighty speaks to us in different ways. He wants to bring us to Him. Some people He speaks to them through sport, or through a beautiful sunrise, or through the words of the Quran, or through science. He spoke to me through my heart. Because as a priest, you know that priests in the church, they don't marry. And I was very lonely. I was lonely. And I made a very difficult decision. I didn't want to leave the Catholic Church, but I decided I would leave my job as a priest. So I left the church. I left the priesthood. And leaving the priesthood is like a death and a divorce and your house burning down all rolled into one. It's a big deal. So I needed something to cheer me up, having left the priesthood. So I decided I needed a holiday. I had no money, so I went on the internet and looked for the cheapest holiday I could find. And the cheapest holiday I could find was a holiday to Egypt. Now, I knew nothing about Egypt. Sand, camels, pyramids. Oh, and just one other problem, Muslims. I'd never met a Muslim in my life. All I knew about Muslims was what the television told me, that they chop your hands off, and that they blow themselves up, and that they hit ladies. So I thought to myself, oh, this is a bit dangerous. If I go on holiday to Egypt, maybe I'll be kidnapped. Maybe these Muslims will seize me and chop my head off. But in the end, I said, well, I've no money, I've no choice. So I went. And that week on holiday in Egypt changed my life, because for the first time in my life, I met Islam.